is cooking.
WBCB presents Pro Wrestling Weekly,
the longest-running pro wrestling radio talk show in the history of terrestrial radio.
And he's obviously Michael Cole.
Call in with a question or comment at 215-949-3232 or 888-922-2149.
You really do sound like a
grizzled old vet. Is that where you were going with there?
Yes.
To not get you in trouble?
Oh, I'll get in trouble at some point. Believe me, I'll do something.
Well, to keep you out of trouble in this case, at least.
And now, here are your hosts of Pro Wrestling Weekly, Fearon Derry and Lucas DeSangro.
Ooh, I'm getting good at this radio thing.
Yeah. It only took you 5.5 years.
I'm not good at it yet. I'm starting.
Yeah.
Only slightly.
Slowest escalator upward.
Shut up!
There's the sound of the bell, and we are set to go. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you, flying solo this week as something came up last minute for Twitch. And in the words of Forrest Gump, that's all I got to say about that. But there's a lot of other things that I definitely have things to say on, or on which to say. Words, things. Well, including something I just want to provide a little bit of a clarification on, because apparently things need clarifying. So, going forward here when referencing the event that is going on a week from this Thursday, in referencing Brown Jewel, just to make sure people understand where I'm going, every time I utter it, that audio cue will occur. Just so people understand where exactly I'm going with it, because apparently there was some misconstruence. How, I have no earthly idea, but there's so many things that make me scratch my head anymore. But that notwithstanding, let's go ahead and mention that event that's coming up, and then we can kind of move on from it here. So things have shifted, things have been added, things changing, it seems, second by second here. When it comes to that event down in Saudi Arabia. And at least for the moment, well, here's where we're at as we are 12 days away from the event in Riyadh. So, out of the Team Hogan versus Team Flair matches, Seth Rollins, as he is now going to be defending the Universal Championship against The Fiend Bray Wyatt in a Falls Count Anywhere match. That's right, so that should make for something interesting to say the least. So, in his place, captaining Team Hogan, none other than Roman Reigns, yes. And so far, it looks like 90% of the respective teams have been made in that 10-man tag team match. Team Hogan is going to consist of Roman Reigns, Rusev, Ricochet, Ali, and Chad Gable, who has undergone a couple of different name changes. Was changed recently to Shorty Gable because, making fun of his height. And he's 5'8", so it's not larger than life enough for WWE, or at least for Vince McMahon. So now it's been changed once again to just getting the name, I guess, as short as he is. I guess that's where they're trying to go with it. Chuckle, chuckle, eye roll. He is now Shorty G. Which sounds like a rapper name, but this is a amateur wrestler, competed in the 2012 Summer Olympics. I mean, it's he didn't win a gold medal with a broken freaking neck like Kurt Angle, but still a very accomplished wrestler. And Shorty G. I don't know. I guess the less I say about that, the better. Meanwhile, over on Team Flair, we've got Randy Orton, King Corbin, and now added to the mix, Shinsuke Nakamura and Bobby Lashley, and there's a fifth person yet to be determined. As we noted last week, signed up is the Braun Strowman against Tyson Fury, as we include more sports athletes into the mix. Tyson Fury, the former heavyweight boxing champion. And then, of course, the WWE title match of Brock Lesnar against Cain Velasquez, who defeated Brock Lesnar back, I believe it was 9 years ago, for the UFC title, the heavyweight championship, in the Octagon. So now both crossing over from the Octagon to the squared circle. And then there were 2 other matches that were added to this, for us here, Halloween afternoon event. Because of where it's being held, we get to see the appearance of Mansoor once again. And he is going to be taking on Cesaro. And then, we've got the WWE World Cup on the line here. As, last year they had the whole best in the world thing with Shane McMahon. And this year, they're going to double it up. And it's going to be determining the best tag team in the world. So there is a 9-team tag team turmoil match to determine the winner of said WWE World Cup. Your teams involved, you have the New Day, which doesn't look like it's been decided as of yet whether it be Big E, Kofi Kingston, and/or Xavier Woods, so 2 of those 3. You've got the Viking Raiders, Eric and Ivar. You've got Heavy Machinery, Otis and Tucker. You've got 2 of the 3 members of Lucha House Party. You've got Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. You've got the Revival, Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder. You have 2 of the 3 members of the OC, AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, and/or Carl Anderson, although I would think that it would be Gallows and Anderson given their history of teaming together. Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, the now former Raw Tag Team Champions, and being dusted off of the proverbial shelf, the B-Team. Yes, B-Team, go, go, go indeed. Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. I don't know, they're kind of my dark horse pick, but not making predictions certain to go wrong for this because, meh. It's kind of where I'm at with them. It's just, I'm reporting on it out of obligation, and that's about all I got on it. But there were definitely some other things going on here, including a big shakeup in terms of creative, as WWE releasing a press release Tuesday announcing that Bruce Pritchard has replaced Eric Bischoff as the executive director of SmackDown. That's right, kind of slowly creeping in, and now he's kind of right back on top as part of Vince McMahon's inner circle. So I don't think we're going to necessarily be hearing this anytime soon. The old brother love theme, I don't think that's coming back, although it would be interesting to see him kind of do an interview segment, and, well, I don't know. It's been a bit. I know they like to go to the nostalgia, but that may be too anachronistic even for WWE. We'll go ahead and get that on out of here. At least for now. But yes, the announcement saying WWE has named Bruce Pritchard the executive director of Friday Night SmackDown, reporting directly to WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon. Pritchard will oversee the creative development of Friday Night SmackDown on Fox and ensure integration across all platforms and lines of business, replacing Eric Bischoff. Goes on to say, Pritchard brings nearly 40 years of experience in sports entertainment with an extensive background in character development and creative storytelling. Over the course of his career, Pritchard has served in a variety of roles, including announcer, producer, agent, and on-screen personality. Earlier this year, Pritchard returned to WWE as a member of the company's creative team. So some people are saying this was kind of a setup all along. I think some people it's one of those keep your friends close and enemies closer, but in this case, how much of a help was being given. There are various reports backstage, lots of rumor, lots of innuendo. Not sure what's true and what isn't, so I'm going to leave that alone, but lots of speculation as far as the negativity toward Eric Bischoff and his overall demeanor, participation. Whether that's true or not is hard to say, but WWE, regardless, is making a change. Also, there was the brand Part 2 this past Monday, and a few different moves going on there, and we'll take care of that, and then we'll head on over to take care of our first time out here, as the time just flying on by. So, yes, there were a lot of moves that went on here with the overall draft, and there were more rounds because, 3 hours of Raw as opposed to 2 hours of SmackDown. Although, if you knew that Raw was, if you know that Raw is getting 3 picks to SmackDown's 2, how would it work if the SmackDown competitor had won? Would it be, would SmackDown get picks 1 and 5, 1 and 3, 1 and 2, and then Raw gets 3, 4, 5? How exactly would that work? So you knew almost in a sense that it was going to be the Raw wrestler winning, so you could go alternating Raw, SmackDown, Raw, SmackDown, Raw for every 5 picks. It seemed it was the nature of the beast. I guess you wouldn't go SmackDown, Raw, SmackDown, Raw, Raw. That doesn't quite fit with the flow, to say the least. But that notwithstanding the draft results, so in the first round you had Seth Rollins to Raw, which that's one of the other things. A lot of the wrestlers who were drafted, quote unquote, they were drafted to the brand that they were already on. So how much of a change was being made? So you had Seth Rollins to Raw, Brock Lesnar to SmackDown, Charlotte Flair to Raw, New Day to SmackDown, and Andrade and Zelina Vega to Raw. Then in round 2, you had the Kabuki Warriors going to Raw, Daniel Bryan to SmackDown, Rusev to Raw, Bayley to SmackDown, and Aleister Black to Raw. It's like, how many? Not a lot of changes there. It almost seemed like window dressing in a sense to garner ratings, which didn't exactly do so good. Third round, Cedric Alexander went to Raw, Shinsuke Nakamura to SmackDown, Humberto Carrillo to Raw, Ali to SmackDown, Eric Rowan to Raw. Round 4, you had Buddy Murphy to Raw, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode to SmackDown, Jinder Mahal to Raw, Carmella to SmackDown, and R-Truth to Raw. Raw also getting Samoa Joe, Akira Tozawa, and Shelton Benjamin in the 5th round, while SmackDown got The Miz and King Corbin. And then in the final televised round, Rey Mysterio, Titus O'Neil, and Liv Morgan went to Raw, while Shorty Gable / Shorty G and Elias went to SmackDown. So, I don't know, out of those 30 picks, really, how many, I don't know. I didn't exactly keep track, but I would say you could count on one hand the number of teams or members that moved from one brand to the other. So it's a shrug my shoulders moment, to say the least. And then there were other after-the-fact moves. You had, and this is kind of for the, I don't want to necessarily say afterthoughts, but that's kind of how they were being treated. Going to SmackDown, you had Apollo Crews, Drew Gulak, Heath Slater, Tamina. You had Luke Harper, Drake Maverick, Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, and Dana Brooke. And also there was, I'm interested to see if this will actually come to fruition or if this is just something to sound sportsy. But Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross were traded to SmackDown for future considerations. Okay, well, I guess that means for whatever draft they do in 2020, probably after WrestleMania 36, or are they going to do another superstar shakeup at that time? It's hard to say. Meanwhile, going to Raw, you had EC3, Eric Young, Sin Cara. You had No Way Jose, Mojo Rawley, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, Peyton Royce and Billy Kay, Sarah Logan. And I think I don't know if I'd mentioned the B team had also gone to SmackDown. It's a lot to keep track of here. Tamina, the B team, and then, Luke Harper and the rest there. So, absent from that list, we talked about Naomi and her dealing with her personal health issues, but also a notable absence, the Usos. They've pretty much been out of the picture since that unfortunate arrest not too far after Raw, with John Cena coming back and spilling some rhymes as he did, and did that kind of foreshadowing that we all didn't realize at the time, adding lines, "Y'all just look like your mug shots. How was it getting arrested?" And then an arrest a day later. All right, well, I'm going to go cleanse my mental palate on that, and then on the other side, we'll take a look at the local scene with Ed from Northeast Philly, and lots of AEW to get into as, well, they were here in this neck of the woods. My old stomping grounds, the old alma mater, Temple University. So I'll talk about the in-person experience being there, and also a really fun, feel-good story that came out of that. I don't know if it'll necessarily air on AEW Dark, but it definitely made the rounds, to say the least. So all that and more here on Pro Wrestling Weekly on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.
Pests are a year-round problem, but it only seems to elevate in the fall. Thankfully, termite proofing and pest control can help you out. TPPC will help you get rid of household pests like spiders, bed bugs, roaches, and mice. TPPC only uses EPA-approved material applied by licensed technicians. Call them today at 215-639-5455. Again, that number, 215-639-5455 for termite proofing and pest control of the Delaware Valley.
The Bristol Borough Community Action Group Food Bank at 99 Wood Street in Bristol has been serving Lower Bucks County since 1971. It's your monthly tax-deductible donations that allow us to provide food for hundreds of households each month. Please consider a generous one-time or recurring monthly donation at www.givebucks.org. That's www.givebucks.org. Help us help those in need. Please donate today. The Bristol Borough Community Action Group, 99 Wood Street, Bristol, PA 19007.
All commentators heard on WBCB express their own views. Their opinions are not necessarily those of others on WBCB, including the staff and management.
Hi, this is Sarah Floyd, Director of Care Advocacy, and we're Bucks County Elder Law, a life care planning law firm. It's not easy talking to loved ones or friends about long-term care. However, the reality is things happen, and people are naturally lousy planners who tend to be overly optimistic. It's no fun reminding people that they may need long-term care. One way to get people to take action is to discuss the benefits of planning versus the consequences of not planning. At Bucks County Elder Law, we empower you to make the best legal, care, and planning decisions for you and your family. We invite you to call us today at 215-493-0727 to schedule a free initial consultation and to join us each Tuesday at 9 a.m. for Senior Legal Strategies right here on WBCB. And visit our website at www.buckscountyelderlaw.com.
See, it's got the Luigi death stare from Fearon, so we might have...
I didn't give you the Luigi death stare. That's not true.
You're breaking kayfabe.
Breaking kayfabe. Gonna break something else during this commercial.
There we go. That's what I like to see.
And now, more Pro Wrestling Weekly with your hosts, Fearon Derry and Lucas DeSangro.
Are we getting into that controversy again?
I know how it feels, and it's not fun.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you. Flying solo today, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm alone, as we're going to go ahead and take a look at the local scene courtesy of Ed from Northeast Philly. Ed, welcome to Pro Wrestling Weekly.
You're not alone.
No, I'm hardly Mr. Lonely to pull from the Bobby Vinton chart topper.
Anyway, the Bound for Glory is this weekend in Chicago.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up here, and I don't know. It's there's so much to watch. It's kind of hard to get everything. I mean, I've been sinking my teeth a little bit more into AEW and NWA Power, which I will admit that in the hustle and bustle of this week, I still have to catch this past Tuesday's episode. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing how Impact is they're trying to tread water at this point here. I mean, there's been a lot of things shaken up here, and you wonder, Impact is still around, but in what capacity? ROH is still around, but in what capacity? I think a lot of people are kind of waiting to see, all right, what company is going to be the first casualty of AEW's presence?
That's true. Because the last 2 or 3 television shows, they look like they had a good crowd for AEW.
Oh yeah, no, they've done really well in the early going with the AEW Dynamite program. I mean, they knew that for the first episode that it was going to garner a lot more interest, so they went to a bigger arena, the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., and that, all things considered, they had a nice crowd of 14,129 people.
For the Philadelphia show?
No, that was for the Capital One show, or that was for the DC show.
I heard they didn't sell out the Leocortis Center.
There were, there were a couple. A couple of empty seats from what I saw there. Just taking a look here. So the attendance, it looks like at the Agganis Arena in Boston for week 2, it was 6,000, but that's also a smaller arena.
Yes.
So, and they had a certain amount of it roped off. Now, as far as this past week, it looks like the estimated attendance was about 9,000 people in the Leocortis Center at Temple.
Mm-hmm. Somebody was telling me that there was like 161 tickets left over.
I know that they had opened up some more tickets right toward the end. One thing, and I hate to get into this because I don't want it to sound like I'm ripping my alma mater here. But that notwithstanding, but regardless of that, I should say, there were a couple of things that didn't exactly sit well with me. One was the organization of parking. Now, they do have a parking garage next to the Leocortis Center. By the time I'd gotten down there after work, it was already full. So then it kind of became as it was, traffic was already rather challenging around the Temple University campus, and now you're having hundreds of cars being redirected through the Center City, Philadelphia streets to another garage that didn't exactly clearly point to. I was fortunate enough to be able to find a spot on the street and park. So, yay, saving money on parking.
And the weather didn't help much.
No, the weather didn't help much either. It was downpouring rain for most of the ride down, and then once we left the show, it was high winds everywhere, even though the rain had stopped. So the weather certainly not playing a factor either. And once we got into the arena, the concessions, left a little bit to be desired. There were a few instances of certain concession stands running out of food. And it always makes me wonder, did they anticipate a smaller crowd than what attended for it? I don't know. But yeah, those were ancillary to the actual AEW event. The event itself, I missed the dark matches from getting in there a little bit later, but the card itself was a lot of fun, but there was one rather noted controversy, which I'll get into a little bit, as that's something
I
that
think
was...
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say...
Yeah, we'll save that. That may end up being something for the next segment.
Yeah,
just because
anyway,
I want to sink my teeth into that one
I wasn't going to take a chance of getting soaked down there. That's why I didn't go down.
Yeah, it's. I wonder if
soaked.
maybe the part of the attendance issue was the rain. Maybe scared some people away, but I don't know. It's a tricky situation because initially there was it sold out like gangbusters, but then as you got a little bit closer, the demand wasn't as high. There were tickets that were selling for as low as $6 on secondary markets.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So, I don't know. There's a lot of take what you will. There's a lot of probably over-analysis for for week 3 of this television show. But, I don't know. All in all, it was an enjoyable time, and there was a fun bit that occurred after the cameras went off, and this was something that got a little bit of news here. So after the post-Dynamite Dark matches, there was a young fan who was dressed as Orange Cassidy. He was brought into the ring with Cody Rhodes, Brandy Rhodes, MJF, Dustin Rhodes, and the Young Bucks. So Cody then called for a referee, got down on the mat, and took the pin. And then Cody jokingly wondered if that would hurt his win-loss record and joked that Orange would now wrestle AEW champion Chris Jericho at Full Gear.
Oh, that's got to be good. That's in Baltimore on the 9th of next month.
Yeah. Full Gear should be a lot of fun a couple of weeks from now.
Moxley and Omega, Jericho and Cody for the title. And I think they just added one more match.
Yeah, I'm going to have to perhaps post something online, as I will not be here on the 9th nor the 2nd, as much needed vacation will be going on. So still in discussion here, but I think in a little bit of generosity for all of his hard work that I think goes unacknowledged, I think that the country road may be a little bit longer and more scenic on those 2 weeks. It may start up at noon instead of 1, but discussion still to occur on that, because I'm sure now that I've said that, he's going to rush in here and be like, "What do you mean? You're killing me." I don't know. But yeah, the kid in this case, it was his 11th birthday, and his dad would go on to tweet and say, "Safe to say this was his best birthday ever. I have no words. Thank you." And then he, provided the ats to Cody, the Young Bucks, Dustin Rhodes, MJF, AEW Wrestling, and AEW on TNT.
And WWE Live in Trenton tonight at the Cure Arena.
Oh yeah, that's it's. It kind of sneaks up on you a little bit, doesn't it?
It's 7:30 p.m. bell time. Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, King Corbin, Sasha Banks, Braun Strowman, and OC.
Yeah, sounds like a pretty good lineup to me.
And I mentioned that already about AEW. PPW and Impact is doing a joint card on November 9th and 10th in Hazleton, PA, and Scranton, PA. I think they said Ralph Van Dam is the headliner.
Yeah, Rob Van Dam is set to be a part of it from what I see here. So yeah, that'll be for Turning Point in Hazleton, and then they're going to have Overdrive in Scranton on the 10th.
Are those like pay-per-view tapings?
Yeah, I think that's TV tapings with the theme, considering that the number of pay-per-views that Impact is doing has been significantly reduced for quite a while.
WWA or Triple WA tonight, 6:30 p.m. in Quakertown at the Q-Mart Arena, Farmers Market.
The old Q-Mart. Yep, Dino Sana's promotion, absolutely. Yeah, I know some of our factory guys have been going there.
Jack Hager's going to be on television on the 25th on Paramount with Beldar.
Well, I was just taking a look here at the Triple WA website. I'm not sure if there was a change necessarily, but it looks like that event at the Q-Mart is scheduled for next Saturday, the 26th.
That's why I said the 26th.
I thought you said it was tonight.
Oh, I'm rushing the dates now. I'm thinking it's to the end of October.
Yeah, no, we're not quite there yet.
1 week before the end.
No, it's and it's a bit of a. I almost wish that a lot of the events were tonight, just because I feel like the last Saturday in October, and I know this is going to be a bit of a tangent here, but I feel like the last Saturday in October, that seems to be a very big Halloween party night.
Yeah.
So it leads me to wonder if that would affect attendances for wrestling shows in the area. Or maybe I'm just reading too much into it.
And Shakira is on November 9th at the Wrestle Factory in Northeast Philly. Rory Gulak and Team Fist with a 3 p.m. bell time.
Almost leads me to wonder what isn't happening on November 9th. I mean, there's so much. I mean, you mentioned Triple WA, you mentioned Chikara. Yeah, I know the Monster Factory is running their Turkey Slam event that day, and then you've got AEW's pay-per-view that day as well. Full Gear. I mean, just to name a few. So there's a lot of centering on that particular date in November. I guess similar to trying to avoid the Halloween parties, I think a lot of the promotions are trying to avoid the Thanksgiving weekends and trying to avoid that holiday concerns. So they tend to book early November and early December.
And do I have time to say this?
Yeah, you're good.
I thought I was up against a break.
No, you're fine.
Anyway, the Edge and Christian is going to be at Dynasty Sports in Oxford Valley Mall on the 2nd from 1 to 3.
On November 2nd, oh man. And I will not even be in the state. So that does not totally reek of awesomeness.
And there's 2 big conventions coming up, too. The big event in New York and Icons at the arena.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, I don't know, it seems like they're always around the corner. But November 23rd is when the Icons Collector Fest is going on.
Good buddy Todd Gordon was just added.
Yeah, I'm looking at that site now. There's a lot of interesting names here. So, looking at that at the Collector Fest a little over a month from now, you got Masahiro Chono, you've got Magnum TA, Sid Vicious is going to be there, Vampiro, Billy Jack Haynes, Lanny Poffo, the Genius, Ivan Putski, Dan Spivey, better known as Waylon Mercy, at least better known to me, Doug Gilbert, Manny Fernandez, Scott Casey, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Road Warrior Animal, Molina. Oh, okay. I didn't see Coco Beware on here. I guess maybe that's a late edition. Hacksaw Jim Duggan says this was Jake the Snake Roberts, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Stan Hansen, Hall of Famer Ron Simmons, Jack Victory, Snitsky, Shane Douglas, and I do see Todd Gordon here as well.
Did you say Doug Gilbert too?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, we got Doug Gilbert in there. So there's a rather
and I think
noted group
Vampiro
there.
might be pulled from that event. I'm not actually sure.
Well, I don't see him listed on here.
He was listed as of Wednesday.
Looks like they pulled him off then.
Yes.
And then 1 week prior to that, on November 16th, there's, as you mentioned, the big event in New York. And that will also have Lanny Poffo. Kane's going to be there. Kurt Angle, Tank Abbott.
Tessa Blanchard.
Yeah, I'm looking here. Emma, Summer Rae, Caitlin, Kelly, Medeja, Jackie Haas, Amber O'Neill, Amber Nova,
Gail Kim and
Johnny
Enzo.
Rods, Maria Manick, Cameron, Scarlett Bordeaux. Okay, I was kind of starting with the ladies first, as I see here. Lex Luger's set to be there, the Wild Samoans, both members of Doom, Butch Reed and Ron Simmons are going to be there. Buff Bagwell, Too Cold Scorpio, The Patriot, Disco Inferno, Rhino and Devon Dudley are going to be there. You'd mentioned Tessa Blanchard, the Road Dogg, Jesse James. There's Gail Kim. Well, they have him listed here as Bruno Lauer, but you probably know him better as Harvey Whippleman. Emil Mascaris is going to be there. Arn Anderson, Larry Zabisco, Corporal Kirshner, all at the big event. Santino and Vladimir Kozlov, Marty Skrull, Flip Gordon. Yeah, wow, Hillbilly Jim. That's why it's the big event. Bad Company, Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond. Kevin Sullivan's going to be there. A lot of goodies.
And last but not least, Blues Beefcake's going to be in New Jersey next week, 5 to 8 p.m. at Circle Auto Group in Shrewsbury, New Jersey.
Shrewsbury, New Jersey. Good chance to see the barber, the Hall of Famer here.
5 to 8 p.m.
Yeah, certainly should be a fun one.
And don't forget, Freehold has the 80s Wrestling Con at I Play America on the 26th.
I feel like they just had one of those, but maybe I don't know. I guess they did so well with it. They're like, hey, we're going to do another one of these. That would certainly, it would certainly make sense. But yeah, that's exactly what they did. 80s Wrestling Con 2. It'll be starting at 10 a.m. and end at 3 p.m. And from what I see here, already scheduled to appear to that, you got Ted DiBiase and Virgil, Sergeant Slaughter, Bob Backlund.
Killer Bees.
The Killer Bees are going to be there. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, Demolition. We mentioned Brutus Beefcake, Jimmy Hart, Marty Jannetty, Tugboat, and the Brooklyn Brawler, and more set to be added.
And Haku.
They didn't have Hacksaw listed on here, but I mean that certainly could change between now and next week.
That's about it.
Alrighty, Ed. Thank you so much for the look at the local
Sorry,
scene.
Teddy, I went a little long.
No, you're fine. We'll take care of our business here and come back. Plenty more news to get into. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.
Hi, this is Dr. Lee Piccarello, inviting you to tune in every Friday morning at 8 a.m. to The Head Game, a must-listen show for athletes and coaches of all levels and ages. Mindful Athlete Training in Newtown, Pennsylvania is a mental circuit training program that prepares the athletes to perform at the highest level of today's game. Athletes get into the zone faster and stay there longer. Tune in every Friday morning at 8 a.m. right here on WBCB 1490 AM and throughout the world at WBCB1490.com.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to, are you? Kids, work, listening to the radio. You're busy, which is great because busy people can't get prediabetes. Oh my, I read that wrong. They can. Should have worn my glasses. So visit doihaveprediabetes.org and take a short test, because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
When an Eagles player gets hurt, the team takes care of him. When you get hurt, the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will take care of you. They understand that a severe accident can be a life-altering event. You need a reliable teammate to fight for you. The attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will get you great results. And if there's no recovery, there's no fee. Contact them today at 215-750-0110 for a free consultation. 215-750-0110 for a reliable ally that's on your side.
In the Army National Guard, family means everything.
Our parents, they were really supportive that all 5 of us would join. I got my education because of the Guard. I got to travel a little bit and experience a whole different culture. It helped me get my job, helped me pay for my house.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard instills pride that you and your family will share. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. Aired by the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Pro Wrestling Weekly presents Today in Wrestling History, October 19th. On this date in 1998, WCW Monday Nitro aired live from Minneapolis, Minnesota. In the main event, Bret Hart defeated Sting by disqualification. On this date in 2003, WWE held its No Mercy pay-per-view. In the main event, Brock Lesnar pinned The Undertaker in a biker chain match to retain the WWE Championship. On this date in 2004, WWE held its Taboo Tuesday pay-per-view. In the main event, Randy Orton defeated Ric Flair in a steel cage match. On this date in 2009, WWE Monday Night Raw aired live from Jacksonville, Florida. In the main event, Shawn Michaels fought Chris Jericho to a no contest. This has been Today in Wrestling History, October 19th.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you, flying solo today, but plenty to talk about. And I teased it a little bit earlier here, but based on AEW Dynamite here in Philly earlier this week, there was a lot of internet back and forth following this past Wednesday's match on AEW Dynamite between Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix against Jungle Boy and Marko Stunt. Now, Stunt had filled in for the injured Luchasaurus, who had torn his hamstring earlier in the day, and it looks like Luchasaurus is going to be out for a while, which is very unfortunate, considering that Jurassic Express, they're one of the more popular entities in AEW. Now, there's been widespread debate regarding whether Stunt, who stands at 5 feet 2 inches tall, fits in or is undersized to compete in a wrestling capacity in a believable fashion. Now, people in the industry have come to Stunt's defense, including Tommy Dreamer, who tweeted, quote, "If you have a problem with Marko Stunt, you are effing stupid, and now you have a problem with me," end quote. Jim Ross, meanwhile, tweeting, "One cannot judge an athlete's heart size in inches and pounds." But one of the more notable responses came from Le Champion, Chris Jericho. He said, quote, "Laughing at people complaining that Marko Stunt is too small and a disgrace to pro wrestling. Funny thing is, I thought the same thing about Rey Mysterio first time I met him in '93. I also saw the Ultimo Dragon get reamed out by his boss when he first brought Rey to Japan in '95. Dean Malenko got laughed out of the WCW locker room when he stood up for Rey before their first match in August of '96. Times have changed and Marko is small, but most of the workers on the roster are smaller in 2019 than the 90s. Bottom line, over is over, and Marko did a good job of getting over on Wednesday. Whether he ends up world champion like Rey did remains to be seen, but I'd rather watch him than a 6'8" musclehead who can't move. I was once told I was too small to be a wrestler too, and I did okay." Now, Marko himself did tweet a brief response to his critics, noting, quote, "If you get it, you get it. If you don't, well, that's on you, homie." So, well, I don't know. I initially was kind of thrown off by it. I've come around since then, but I think it's one of those initial, compared to the others, it looks like a child. And I think that's where a lot of people are taking umbrage with it, is because of that size disparity. It looks like a 12-year-old in the ring, even though he's 23, I believe. So I'm okay with it, especially now that, Jurassic Express is missing Luchasaurus for a lengthy, undetermined amount of time. So, they've got to do something to stay hot. I think it's just a matter of, like with anything in wrestling, accentuating the positives and hiding the negatives. How that's going to occur remains to be seen. Now, just a few months after signing a huge 5-year deal with WWE, Mike Bennett, a.k.a. Mike Kanellis, or strike that, reverse it, announced via social media that this past Monday he requested his WWE release. Tweeting a statement on Monday, "Today I asked for my release from WWE. I want to thank everyone in the company who has helped me out and who I've shared a locker room with. I love you all. I've been with the company for almost 3 years, and I am incredibly grateful for the opportunity. However, it is time for me to move on." Goes on to say, "I'm only 34 years old, and I feel I have way too much left in the tank. Working 1 day a week is just not going to cut it for me. I came to WWE to work, and that opportunity does not exist right now. I re-signed with the company back in June because I thought it was what was best for my family, and maybe from a financial standpoint it was. But I quickly realized that bringing my work frustrations and misery home with me is not good for my family, and I no longer want my daughter to constantly see me come home defeated, sad, and angry." This all coming from Mike Bennett. "It's not fair to her or my wife. Being a pro wrestler was and is my lifelong dream, and I'm just not ready to give that up yet. I wasted 4 years of my life addicted to drugs and not caring when I should have been having the best matches of my life." He goes on to say, "Now that I am clean, sober, and motivated, I want to have those 30-minute matches. I want to travel the world and wrestle in front of UK crowds, German crowds, Japanese crowds. I want to feel the love and excitement wrestling once gave me. I also want my daughter to be able to see me wrestle. I want her to see her daddy work for his money. I've never been okay with just collecting a paycheck, and I can't in good conscience tell my daughter that she has to work her butt off to get ahead in life, then not do it myself. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I'm hopeful and excited. Thank you to everyone who has ever supported me and had my back. I love you, end quote. Now, there's no word as of yet whether WWE will honor Mike's request. Now, Sean Spears, a.k.a. Ty Dillinger, he went public with his release request, and it was granted, while Luke Harper did the same and was not granted a release. And no word from wife Maria, who's also on WWE contract and part of that 5-year deal, to see where she stands. So, interesting. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff there. Also of note, I know we've been kind of talking back and forth. Week 3 of the Wednesday Night Wars goes to AEW once again. Dynamite producing 1.014 million viewers on TNT, finishing 5th in the cable ratings in the 18 to 49 demographic. NXT on USA Network, meanwhile, producing only 712,000 viewers, 30th in that same demographic, and down to AEW by 302,000 pairs of eyes. Yeah, that's a lot. Now, the numbers fell for both companies slightly, AEW losing about 126,000 viewers to NXT's 77,000. Neither show faced Major League Baseball playoff competition due to the Houston Astros-New York Yankees game being rained out Wednesday night. That was not a fun time here in the Northeast, that's for sure. Oh, man. Now, on a little fun note here, WWE has partnered with gaming company Blueberry to produce a new series of slot games featuring past and present superstars, so slot machines. The new machines will see the top stars of today like Roman Reigns, John Cena, Triple H, Ronda Rousey. Triple H is a top star of today? He's 50. Come on now. I know, it's a press release, but Triple H, Ronda Rousey, and Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch appear in the slot machines, as well as Hall of Famers like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, and Hulk Hogan. In a statement, WWE's Senior VP of Consumer Products, Sarah Cummins, said, quote, Blueberry is one of the most reputable companies in the gaming industry and has a long history of developing high-quality products. This new partnership will allow players to engage with their favorite WWE superstars and legends in casinos around the country in new and exciting ways. Currently no date, though, on when the new WWE slot machines will launch. So for those of you trying to rush over to Parks Casino now, pump the brakes. No need to just yet. Plus, you heard them discuss in the Polka Show. Not always the brightest idea. All those disclaimers, bet with your head, not over it, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. I think I'm in good shape there. Also, Bushiroad has announced the acquisition of the Stardom women's promotion. Now, Bushiroad, name may not sound familiar here in the States, but they also own New Japan Pro Wrestling, and the announced plan is to operate the two companies as separate entities. So you have the Stardom women's promotion and New Japan Pro Wrestling. So now they're going to be working together, but they're still, they're not merging. They're just, it's an acquisition. That's kind of how it works, at least as far as I know. Let's see here. What else? I knew there was something else. Oh, yes. WWE announcing Monday that it will be releasing its third quarter financial report. Yawn. On October 31st. And the quarterly conference call associated with that financial report will be co-hosted by WWE co-presidents George Barrios and Michelle Wilson. Vince McMahon not going to be on the call. And, yeah, at least he's not listed as taking part. And I believe that is because the conference call is happening the same day as Brown Jewel. I said earlier, just to make sure you know where I'm going with that, because I still don't know how there was discrepancy otherwise. People jump to conclusions, and that's about all I got. I was going to say jump like, I don't know, Rey Mysterio in his prime. There we go. There's a lot of jumping around with that, to say the least. Or jumping around like, was it House Party that did that song in the early 90s? Jump up and get down? Okay. Hey, I'm hip. I'm with it. Referencing a song from like 25 years ago. Fun times here. And it was mentioned by Ed on the call there. Yeah, Impact Bound for Glory tomorrow. For those wondering, here are the matches on that. So you've got Brian Cage against Sami Callihan for the Impact Wrestling Championship. You've got Taya Valkyrie and Tenille Dashwood for the Knockouts Championship. Also, the tag titles on the line in a triple threat match. The North, Josh Alexander and Ethan Page taking on Rob Van Dam and Rhino. against Rich Swann and Willie Mack. So a couple of names you recognize, a couple head scratchers, especially if you don't watch it. There's also a five-way ladder match for the X Division Championship that Tessa Blanchard is a part of, so intergender in this case here. Also, Jake Christ is in there as well, and Ace Austin. It should be interesting. And also interesting, football versus UFC as Moose taking on Ken Shamrock. Yeah, he's still around. He was in the WWF back 20 years ago, and he was kind of in the tail end of his UFC career then. So, do the math. He's pushing his mid-50s. And still in there wrestling. Hey, better him than me. Also, Naomichi Marufuji against Michael Elgin. The Rascals, Des, Trey, and Wentz against Dr. Wagner Jr., Taurus, and Aerostar. And finally, a Call Your Shot gauntlet match for a shot at any Impact Championship. So I guess the person who wins is the last person remaining in that gauntlet match. They could go for the heavyweight title. They could go for the tag titles and pick a partner. They could go for the X Division title. The world is their oyster. And the world, well, quickly crumbling down on me here as we're making our way to the top of the hour. And, well, that means Country Roads with Ted Efaw here. And I was going to say, what do you have spotlit here today, Ted? I know, I just threw you for a complete...
That's all right. I moved over because it's bare over here without Twitch. So that's all. I usually sit in as he's wrapping up his show. The Country Roads Memory Spotlight remembers Hee Haw, which turned 50 this year.
Oh, my goodness.
So we'll have the late producer, Sam Lavello, and also Hee Haw honey, Misty Rowe, a 1996 interview with both of them talking about the creation and the story behind Hee Haw. That'll be in the 5 o'clock hour.
Yeah, now I'm curious, and I guess I'll have to listen to. You'll probably say listen to find out, but but was there anything talked about the rural purge of CBS?
There was in the initial interview, but I didn't put that in.
Yeah, it wasn't spliced into this here.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, because I mean, for those who don't know, you think back in those days, you had Mayberry RFD and Petticoat Junction and Green Acres and Hee Haw,
Beverly Hillbillies,
and they were actually all doing well in the ratings. But when the new leadership took over at CBS, they thought it was too much of a hillbilly thing, and they got rid of all those shows, and it led to shows like All in the Family, Mary Tyler Moore, etc. But
MASH, things like that.
Yeah, but there was a lot of bitterness from the rural areas and those that were on those shows. And Hee Haw only lasted 3 years on CBS.
And then it moved to syndication, got like another 20 plus years. Yeah.
So we stayed on the positive.
There you go. Keeping it positive. So with that, we're going to positively move our way here to...
birthdays!
Yes. 1 plus, wow, a lot of Brucey bonuses. 5 in this case. Firstly, on this date in 1983, Robert Evans was born, the former ROH and Chikara pro wrestler known as Archibald Peck and R.D. Evans, and known more recently for leaving WWE earlier this year during the Hall of Fame ceremony because the speech he produced for Bret Hart had mentioned McMahon's name, and McMahon does not like that. He doesn't like being thanked in the Hall of Fame speeches. Well, he turns 36 today. Now to the Brucey bonuses, things outside of the world of wrestling. On this date in 1944, George Warren McRae Jr. was born. The soul and disco singer most famous for his 1974 chart-topping hit Rock Your Baby turns 75 today.
Wow.
On this date in 1945, John Arthur Lithgow was born. The Emmy and Tony Award-winning actor known from the sitcom Third Rock from the Sun, as well as the dramas The Crown and Dexter. He turns 74 today.
Wow.
As does Jean Carolyn Stevenson, the country music singer best known for her country pop #1 hit Harper Valley PTA, better known professionally as Jeannie C. Riley.
Yes.
And on this date in 1962, Evander Holyfield was born. That name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
The 4-time heavyweight boxing champion who he also fought Matt Hardy to a no contest in a boxing match on WWE's Saturday Night's Main Event back in 2007. He turns 57 today. And lastly, on this date in 1969, Randolph Severn Parker III was born. The Emmy, Tony, and Grammy Award-winning animator, director, actor, and composer, best known for co-creating the TV series South Park, known professionally as Trey Parker. He turns 50 today. That's going to do it for us. Ted's up next. Play us out, Nutsy.
1 o'clock and all's well.
serving you better than ever before. This is 1490 WBCB